Welcome back to Pune once again. So we were talking about the distribution, rack distribution with the busbar trunking system. Now, busbar trunking system in a traditional way of RFPs, mainly it was used to happen with the cables. Over a period, busbar trunking system started popping inside the data centers, and more dominant technologies were air insulated and the sandwich type. However, lately we are started pitching about the trackways because Prasa being pioneer in many of the projects where already Prasa has offered this kind of solutions. So there was interesting debate that was happening with the consultant who was governing this project, and we were trying to pitch in for the trackway. Now, in your experience, since you are already used for the air insulated sandwich and the trackway, just brief on your experience on when you converted from cable to a busbar trunking system as a solution, and then we will deep dive into these three technologies, how it differentiate and what advantage customer can get.
Well, it's a very interesting space in terms of conducting the power and distributing it to a rack or whichever is the application load. First, let us. I think we should talk about just conducting the power. You need raw material for conducting the power, that is copper or aluminum. That's your core metallurgy material that you will require to pass the current. Correct. Easier was to take multi-strands of that material, convert it into a cable or a wire and conduct that electricity in that fashion, correct? Later on, the demand of power or the current to be transferred from A to B in terms of location, either from transformer to the panel or panel to another panel at a high current rating of around 2000, 3000 amps or anything above that, that actually created the demand that if we end up stranding all of the cables together and keeping it together, heat transfer and all that will derate the current carrying capacity. Point number one. Point number two, it will become very heavy to handle on trays and you have to carry it further and all that.
Plus the losses, corona effect and all those things started popping.
Correct. You being from the electrical side more, in terms of your career as well as your education, you are aware that these things were, the challenges that came across, which is where the trunking system as a concept came into existence. Ki boss, let us not have cables only, we can have copper plates running in straight line with insulation between R, Y and B and neutral, and then taking it further so that the surface area of the copper material itself helps you conduct more electricity.
Right.
So that was your core necessity which led to the requirement and deployment of bus trunking system.
True.
Now, that eventually application wise moved from passing high current to an application perspective of whether the space is available or not. That became another thing. Instead of creating big shafts and putting large cable trays, let us use this, because this came with a hard casing which can be mounted directly on the shaft wall or something, and it became easy, and that's what you call that raising mains.
Yeah.
Correct. That's one. And then further, what happened is, in terms of the aesthetics and decluttering of a particular distribution, and now coming to the data center specific rack based distribution system, from what I have experienced and what we have been able to sell through such a particular product is only via the explanation and the incentive given to the customer that A, it looks aesthetically better, B, it declutters your floor, which can cause the blockage of air. Yeah. Because predominantly data centers would have these bottom discharge air cooling systems, and if more and more cable trays were piling up, then the airflow would be obstructed and the actual rack which needs that airflow will be stuck with these cables in between. So those were the two reasons where we experienced as Prasa or as a solution provider or as someone who would talk to a lot of customers. That's what my personal experience has been.